Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be looking at a product that I purchased on Amazon that I wanted to share with you. It is not this, but it's very similar. Years ago when we started throwing parties here at the house, we wanted to incorporate some of the water features from the outside inside. To make a long story short, we did that with some ice sculptures. This is something that just comes in a box, and as you can see, this was a swan, and what we did is basically you fill up this little tray that comes inside the box. We put some like little blue pebbles here in a sort of ice looking dollar store dish, and then put the ice sculpture on it. And it kind of looked like the swan was swimming in the water. Anyway, it was all very extra, as they like to say. It was kind of fun, but the problem with it, although we used it a few times, is that it was very unstable, and once it started to melt, it would basically fall over and break. So I did not purchase the other one that I saw at the time, which is in this box here. So let's go ahead and open it, and I'm going to show you what I got. I decided to give it another shot because I've been thinking about it over the years, like how to make the ice sculpture a little bit more stable. I don't know, maybe we can freeze a larger base onto the bottom of it, because they're such fun products. And in fact, this one is a jack-o'-lantern. It's actually made by the same company. It's Sculptures in Ice. They actually, oh look, they show a picture, and on the bottom they use little black and orange little beads, which if you saw from the intro to my video, I got some black beads from my last year's Halloween project where I used these in some flower vases. And the vase broke, so I have all these extra beads. It'll be perfect for the base of my new ice sculpture. On the back of the box here, we can see that they actually make these for other holidays too. You've got Christmas, there's an angel, a snowman, an Easter bunny, oh, a fish. Could have used that for my parties too. A heart, a clown. If you're throwing a creepy clown Halloween party, you could certainly use it for that, and the swan, which is what we got the other time. So let's go ahead and open this up, and I will show you what it looks like. It is just basically a tray. It comes with some styrofoam blocks, and you actually want to hold on to those. Don't throw them out, because you're going to need them to support the corners of your mold when you throw it in the freezer. And this is quite a large little mold, so you got to make it's a large mold, so you got to make sure that you have plenty of room in your refrigerator to accommodate it. Let me just go ahead and put the swan away, and I'll leave my jack-o'-lantern box out here while we prepare. And for preparation, what you're going to need, actually, let's just move these out. We'll look at those a little bit later. But as you can see here, the mold kind of tips over, and that's why we use these things to basically prop up the corners when it's in the refrigerator so that it is level. Now, we made these several times. In fact, we started experimenting with the swan one before our parties just to see how it would look. In the picture, this one looks a little bit cloudy. We tried many different methods trying to get the ice as clear as possible, and it just never happened. It's always going to look cloudy like this. So I figured if it's going to be cloudy anyway, and not perfectly clear, we ought to try and just make it an orange color for the pumpkin. So I've gone ahead and got us some water, and then let's just go ahead and experiment and see if we can make this water orange. Now to do that, we're going to use red and yellow food coloring. And according to the back of the box, if we were making a cake, to make orange color, we would use 50 yellow and 8 red. So I don't know that we'll put that much in here, but clearly we need a lot more yellow than red. So if we were to divide it by 10, that would be 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yellow to 1 red. Let's see what that does. All right, go ahead and give it a stir. That's not bad. So I would be happy with this orangey color, but let's try just see if we can make it a little deeper. If we do another one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yellow. One more red. Give it another stir. All right, it looks a little bit better orange, so I'm happy with that. And we will just go ahead and pour that into the mold, pop it in the fridge. Let's see, does it give any instructions on how long this is going to take? Well, okay, just to give you a lowdown on the instructions, you're supposed to wash the mold thoroughly before using. I don't know why. I mean, we're not going to be eating this ice, so I'm not going to bother doing that. Place the mold flat in the freezer, must be level. Do not fill to the top as the water expands when it freezes. 4 quarts of liquid. Don't know if I have enough water now. Freeze for at least 48 hours. Okay, well, I had planned to give this at least a day. Now I might have to give it 2 days. So let's go ahead and just pop this in. And, well, let me finish reading the directions here. To remove the sculpture, allow mold to sit out for a few minutes. Don't dip it in water, it will crack. For a clearer ice sculpture, boil water. That doesn't work. Neither does using distilled water. We tried everything. But it suggests boiling it for at least 5 minutes, then allow to sit overnight or until cool before freezing. For interesting effects, try adding food coloring. Here we go. Carbonated or non-carbonated beverage mixes or other items such as fruits, vegetables, and candies. Not sure why carbonated beverages might make a difference. If you have a clue why that might be, let me know. Be creative, use your imagination. And it suggests putting your sculpture in a pan or a dish that will catch the melting ice, not ruin your table. So I got us one. We're going to check and see how long it takes this thing to melt in another video in perhaps 48 hours. When creating, oh, okay. You can actually make this into a Jell-O mold, apparently. So maybe that's why you need to wash it first. You can do so using 4 large gelatin packets. I hate Jell-O. We're not going to do that. But anyway, oh yes, they show a beautiful picture of a Jell-O mold swan on the side. I don't know why anyone would want that. It looks awful. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pour this in, pop it in the fridge, and I will see you in a couple days. All right, it has been 48 hours, and as you can see, our ice sculpture is pretty frozen solid. Now, it looked pretty solid at the 24-hour mark, but I wanted to do this video right, and the instructions say to freeze it for 48 hours, so I did. Now, I'm not exactly sure what happened in my refrigerator, because it looked pretty level to me, but for some reason, the ice seems to be popping out. I think when it starts freezing in the mold, I don't know if it kind of just sort of starts popping out of the mold. Maybe that caused it to be off balance. But if you can see that in the video, there's this giant lump on one side. I am not sure why that happened. In fact, if somebody who knows more about the physics of ice freezing can explain that to me, let me know. If there's a reason why one side is just, there's this giant mass on the side popping up over the ledge. Don't know why, and I'm sure it's not because it was, I mean, maybe it must have been tilted, but it didn't look like it was. So not sure why that happened. But the good news is it seems to be popping out and very easy to remove. So we're not going to have to worry about that. Now what I like to do before we pop it out, I'm going to take my base material. I think I talked about this the other day. I'm just going to throw some black dollar store beads, or not beads, like glass beads, just to give it a little bit of a nicer look when we put this in. In fact, I may have used a little bit too many, but it's also going to kind of help hold it into place when we put it on the tray. So let's just go ahead and pull this out and see what it looks like. Ooh. There we go. Now you can kind of tell the food coloring has sort of settled, I guess, into the middle of the ice. So you have that sort of deep orange look right here. In fact, if you flip it over on the back, you can't quite see that at all. So definitely the food color settles. I wasn't expecting that. I don't know if that's maybe a product of it being the food coloring, or if maybe we had used like an orange Kool-Aid. It might have looked a little bit different. But let's go ahead and just sit it in here and see how well it stands up. I probably should have put these little beads in afterwards, but there we go. All right. So you can see it stands up fairly well. And the ice mold, there's that heavy orangeness. So I'm hoping that'll just wash right out. I'm sure it will. But that's our fun little ice mold. Now, if I shake it, you can see it does wobble. So you're going to have to be very careful. And in fact, I don't remember if I told you this the other day, the very first one we did with the swan, once it starts melting and the bottom gets a little weaker, it'll plop right over. So let me go ahead and flip it around to the other side, because this is the thick side. And in fact, it's got this little ledge here. I haven't really seen it because this is the first time I pulled it out to look at it. So I'm not sure if that really affects the look of it. Let me go ahead and flip it this way so you can see the other side here. It's much thinner on this side. Wow, yeah, that is quite a difference. And overall, it's got this little frosty look, but I think once it starts to just melt a little bit, that's going to quickly go away. It's kind of heavy. I should have brought a scale. I don't know. I'm not even going to guess how many pounds it is, but it's a substantial weight. And as you can see, it's starting to melt just a little bit, and it's causing it to really move around on the base. Now my original idea, as I told you, was to make another base out of ice and kind of freeze them together just to make it a little bit sturdier. And someday I may give that a shot, but there's just no room in my refrigerator for that. You'd have to be able to have, you know, if we're going to make a base like this, you need a 2 square feet of, or 2 cubic feet of space in your refrigerator. Maybe if you have one of those deep ice chests, you can do that. But I just can't do that now. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to move this now into my melting tray, which I brought so that we can see how fast this thing melts. Now, I did take a look at the time downstairs, and it said 8:15 at night. So I'm going to go ahead and put the camera on this, throw it downstairs somewhere where it won't be disturbed, and we'll see how long it takes to melt. All right, there you go. It looks like you get about 2, maybe 3 hours, if you're lucky, of useful life out of your ice mold. Now, what you didn't really get to see in that video, especially since it was time-lapse and the whole beginning of it was kind of compressed. You didn't really get a full gist of what happened. But basically, even while we were trying to set it up, the thing is melting. If you have it on any sort of base that's not holding it in place, it'll just start sliding around. And it fell over and it broke, so the top is already broken before we even got started. But once we did get the camera rolling, it only lasted about 10 minutes before we hear this giant crash, and we had to go in and take a look at it, and there it was. It had fallen over, broken a little bit more, because again, it just sort of slides all around on that base. The rocks will kind of hold it into place. I thought about other things to do, like sand, but the sand might just hurt. I don't know if it would, still hold it into place or not. Might have to experiment with that. The other option would be to, as I pointed out before, create an ice base and freeze them together, but that's going to be very cumbersome and complex. What I found the easiest thing to do, which I ended up doing in the video after it crashed, the ice mold that is, not the video, is just use the simple, easel. That's going to hold it in place, allow the water to drip off the ice mold. And since it's sort of tilted back, it'll kind of compress down and always stay in place. So that's not the best look, but what are you going to do? The ice mold is definitely too narrow to hold itself into place. I think that's a reasonable solution, especially if you can find some sort of way to, shield the base a little bit, maybe decorate it with some other pumpkins so you don't notice that it's actually sitting on an easel. It is what it is. What are you going to expect for 20 bucks, which is what I paid for this thing on Amazon. And for that 20 bucks, you get this little piece of plastic. You might even be able to do the same thing with like a cake mold. I know they have a lot of cake molds now in various Halloween designs and shapes, like skulls, and I'm sure they've got them for jack-o'-lanterns too. In the other video, I showed you how the coloring kind of pooled, and I was a little worried if it would stain it or not. It actually did a little bit. Most of the orange came out, but there is some sort of red staining here because I had to mix the red and the yellow to get the orange. So I'm sure that's not going to affect future molds, but it's there now, and I have to look at it. What else can I say about it? It's fun. I think people are very impressed with it, especially when we've used it again at our parties before they've fallen over. People look at it and think, wow, who has ice molds? So it definitely has that wow factor. It's kind of neat. So even though they're difficult to work with, I'm going to recommend it. I really liked the swan. It's a little hard to tell from the pumpkin jack-o'-lantern. These little indentions probably should have been a little bit deeper. It was a little hard to see the face. It was a lot harder to see it in the video though than it was in real life. So it's still fun. I'd recommend it, but again, it's $20, a little steep. See if you can find a better way to do it. If you can, let me know in the comments below what you've done or if you have any suggestions. Or if you like Jello molds, hey, this might be the thing for you. Anyway, that's it for today, guys. Take care. I'll see you around. Until next time, happy haunting.